Okay, we are now will explain more on chapter 5. The topic of chapter 5 is about consumer market and consumer buying behavior. Before we go further to explain more about the consumer market, buying behavior, and then several stimuli response about the consumer market, we have to understand first what is consumer market. Consumer market is all individuals and households that buy or acquire goods and services for personal consumption. So here we have to distinguish between consumer market and then business market, because consumer market will only buy the product for their own consumption and then for the family consumption. Meanwhile, for business market that we're going to explain next week, will be talk further about when someone buy the product and then process that product and sell it finally at the end for the consumer, final consumer. So in business market, they will reprocess the product, or maybe they will resell it again to the other consumer, not for their own consumption. Consumers' buying behavior refers to the buying behavior of final consumers. This is divided into two: individuals and household that buy goods and services for personal. In the figure 5.1, these are the picture about how is the marketing stimuli and the consumer's characteristic and the buyer's decision process will finally influence or impact on the buyer responses. Um, it is called as the model of buyer behavior. So marketing stimuli is about a stimuli given by a marketer through their product design, the pricing method, or distribution, and also how they try to design the marketing message. And then the other environments such as economics, technological, social, and cultural environment will also become a stimuli. Just for example, female, yeah, your characteristic as a buyer is your gender is a female. Usually interest a lot on the bright colors such as white, pink, purple. These are several colors that mostly women like, yeah. Bright yellow, baby blue, and then what is it? There's many more, yeah. And then the company understand about that kind of characteristic that female mostly love bright colors, and then they try to design the product that use that colors as the packaging, yeah, of the product. And then the woman who saw that product become interesting because the product designed. So that what is called as the marketing stimuli. And then the price, yeah, some people buying the product because it has a lower price compared to the other competitors, so that is also marketing stimuli. And then the place we're talking about distribution, so some people will buy the product because they don't have to go too far, yeah. And then they will buy something nearer because yeah, during the pandemic you will just buy around your environment. You will not go far to get the product, or you will use transportation online, yeah, like Gosen, to help you out to get the product. And then some people will buy the product or become loyal to several product because they see the promotional message is really interesting. It is also will influence by your economic condition, technological condition, that will help you to get that product easier, and then the social and cultural conditions. And then here we're going to talk later further about the buyer characteristic and buyer decision process. We will see that actually buyers, it is called as the buyer's black box. It is something that is really important for a customer to know further. What is buyer characteristic? We're going to discuss on the next slide. And here are some responses that the buyers finally um, react toward the marketing stimuli, and then influenced by the buyer characteristic, whether they have a specific attitude or specific preference toward a different brand, and then whether they finally uh, create a purchase behavior, where they're going to buy and how much, whether it will be create some brand engagement and a good relationship between you as a marketer and a brand with the customers. So further, we're going to discuss about the buyer's black box. Here are several consumers' behavior that we call as the consumer characteristic that will influence them a lot to buy a product, being loyal to product, having a brand engagement, or maybe creating some brand equity in their mind. Yeah, we can see several kinds of factor here. It can be from the cultural factor, like culture, subculture, or social class, or social factor came from the group or social networks, family, their role and status. The personal factors such as their age, the life cycle stage, their occupation, economic situation, lifestyle, personality and self-concept, or maybe psychological factor came from their motivation, perception, learning, beliefs, and attitude. This is something that in further you will learn it on the consumer behavior. Okay, the first factor that we're going to discuss further is about cultural. The definition is the set of basic values, perception, wants, and behavior learned by a member of society from family and other important institutions. Just for example, you came from West Borneo. Yeah, you never really get used with trying to nodding to someone. Yeah, to show respect. And then when you finally arrive and study as a student in Yogyakarta, you see a lot of people love to do nodding when they see like people, uh, older people, to show some respect. This is something that you get from cultural, because cultural will set someone's values, someone's perceptions, and then it is also will influence what kind of product they will want to consume, and then how is their behavior. Here I would like to give you some examples, several product produced made from Japan, yeah, produced and made from Japan. So this product packaging is really really interesting and attractive because it's uniqueness in how they package their product. This is showing how the cultural value of a Japanese people is always related with artistic and the beauty of the product design. I've been experienced when we visited by one professor from United States, and then he told me something about how when he visited Japan, and then he said that a lot of product that he saw in Japan and how the Japanese try to show the product to them, or maybe show something to them, is always relate with product's beauty, the artistic side of the product. So product seems to be really attractive. So it is happened because the Japanese is always relate everything with artistic and arts. That's why they always package their product in a really unique way. And then in order to understand your customer further, you have to understand what is their value background, what is their culture. This is just an example how the United States people's value will finally influence them on how what kind of culture and what kind of personality that finally will build them. The first one is achievement and success. They always pay attention on how they will try to always achieve something in their life and being success. And they always show that they want to have a freedom on everything, individualism, high individualism, a hard work, activity and involvement, efficiency and practically things. So when they conduct some system, it will not be too long. They will try to cut some useless system to become more practical. And material comfort, they always need to be supported by facilities, youthfulness, fitness, and health. Here are some values of Indonesia. The first one is mutual cooperation. We always having a lot of teamwork everywhere. When I'm trying to compare it with several stories of my friends from Europe, they get surprised because when they come to Atmajaya, they always see a lot of students gather with a group of other students. Meanwhile, they try to compare when I study abroad in Netherlands, for example. Students not really gather in a group. Most of them are individual students who work, who read, who do something, spreading everywhere, but not really in a collective way. So we see that Asian perhaps is tend to be loves to have some teamwork instead of individual work. I think it's a part of value and cultures. And respect in Indonesia and consensus, we always discuss something to get some approval or acceptance. And then norms, religious is something that's really important in Indonesia. So religion is one of the things that would create some problem or conflict and would become something that unites someone. So in Indonesia, especially, religion is something that is really, really important. I think it's also related with the Pancasila. I mentioned that number one, uh, like, is about God. Yeah, it's about God. And then cultural respect. Yeah, we always try to maintain the cultural things. Yeah, to be not vanished or not longer being maintained by next generation. It has happened sometimes cultural shift. Yeah, cultural shift is when your culture value is not longer the conventional one due to a lot of value, a new value enter the country or your area. Therefore, there are some shifting on how people will use something and how someone perceive on some issue. Just for example, here the case of Wipro baby shop in India. People in India, especially for the elderly one, it is always get used with the diapers using a clothes, not the instant diapers as we saw now. So when the new generation try to put the diapers, the instant diapers, one time diapers that only being used one time, then uh, they complaining the elderly complaining because they thought that it will not really comfortable for the kids, and you will never really know, you're not really changing often. But baby shop here try to answer that kind of problem through their commercial, showing that baby shop wiper is something different because it is a clothes, not a plastic. A part of culture is a subculture. This is a group of people with shared value system based on a common life experience and situation, considered as a nationality, religion, race, and geographical area. The example is like a Hispanic American customer, African American mature customers. Why they're considered as the subculture? Because actually their original not came from American, but they came to American and bringing the values of Hispanic or African. So there are some mixed culture out there and will create some different specific behavior through how they consume their product, their perception, and then how they perceive. This is another example of cosplay. Is a part of the subculture happened in Japan, where some a group of teenagers who loves to act and also using an anime costume, and it will create some specific subculture. Another subculture is a punk people. They try to relying their life into a specific fashion styles, and then specific attitudes. Some are negative, but I just heard that some are not that negative. This is some other specific subculture from the Hispanic American. They have some characteristic. There are 55 million Hispanic customers in the United States. Their total annual buying power is 1.7 trillion per year. Hispanic, they are youthful segment, more than 52% of United States. They tend to have a family oriented and then make shopping for their family affairs, and children have a big say in what brand they buy. So their parental style is more on like giving some authority for them to decide about what kind of brand they're going to consume. The old first-generation Hispanic consumer tend to very brand loyal and to favor brand and seller who have a special interest in them. Younger Hispanic has shown increased price sensitivity in recent years and willingness to switch to a store brand. And Hispanic are more active on mobile and social networks than other segments. So here, I also read in different book about they prefer to have some language for their promotion message in Hispanic. So even though they stay in United States, they still love to get some promotional message that being said in Hispanic language. The other characteristics came from the African American. This is one of the subculture that is growing affluence and sophistication. The nation is more than 44 million black customer, or their annual buying power is 1.3 trillion per year. They are strongly motivated by quality and selection. Brands are really important for them. The heavy user of digital and social media, providing access to a rich variety of marketing channels. So this is something that we can use as a marketer if we would like to target some African American or maybe a Asian American, the most affluent U.S. demographic segment in the United States. They are well-educated segment, and then the second fastest growing subsegment after Hispanic American. They are really diverse because not really consists of the Chinese came from the original Chinese mainland, but also came from Philippines, Asian, Indian, Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese. They shop frequently on, and then mostly are brand conscious of all the ethnic group, and then brand loyal, and then it really works if the brand could create some a good relationship with them, and then a lot of firm now targeted Asian American market. So here are some characteristics. Social class is also part of a culture. According to its definition, is a relatively permanent and ordered division in a society whose members share similar values, interests, and also behavior. A social scientist has identified 7 American social classes such as upper class, lower upper class, middle class, working class, upper lower class, and lower class. And how you determine social class? It came from the income, or it is also possible from the combination of occupation, income, education background, the wealth, and other variables possible. The next one is the other characteristic of the consumer. It came from the social factors. Here we can see several different of the social factors. The first one is came from group and social networks, the family, and the role and also status. Why we see there's a lot of youngster out here, we have to see that the community, the circle that you have in a friendship will influence a lot on consuming some product. Just for example, there are several products that is really easy being viral among the circle or among the community. Just for example, tattoo, piercing, yeah, and then jewelry. If your friend using jewelry, you will be also interested on using the similar jewelry or maybe another types of jewelry, but you will interest to use it too. But if your friend loves to make a tattoo in their body, you will interest at the end to also using tattoo and like creating some tattoo in your body. So your social and then environment and then your group will influence you a lot. If your friends buy some specific brand of smartphone, you will interest to have a similar brand. The other part of the group social factor is a reference group. Reference group here divided into two. The first one is a membership group, while the other one is an aspirational group. The membership group is a group that will directly influence you. For example, like your close friend, your friends, your community, your gang, where you go to a mall together or hang out in a cafe together. So they will directly having a good relationship with you, a direct relationship with you. And then meanwhile, aspirational group is a group that you admire. You don't have a direct relationship with them, but you admire them because you're fans of them. Just for example, like BTS, they using a brand, one brand of clothes branding, and you try to use the same brand. They never communicate directly to you. They're not your friends, but you admire, and they become your aspirational person. That is the reference group. So both will give you influence on how you try to consume product and how at the end you try to behave. And then there are some terms called as word of mouth influence. This is an impact of a person's words and recommendation of trusted friends, family, associate, and other consumers on buying behavior. Just for example, you would like to know what kind of laptop that it fits with your need. You can try to gain more information from your family, from your trusted friends, or maybe from the opinion leader who really expert on laptops, and that is called of a word of mouth. So you will get more information from different people. And then opinion leader, as I have mentioned before, is someone who has knowledge, skills, personality, and other characteristics that will give you some social influence among the others. So this is a type of reference group. Just for example, someone who is your senior on the photography club, they have a lot of experience on using different cameras, and they become a speaker in different seminars about photography. And in order to buy a new camera, you will try to seek for this person advice as the opinion leader. Or perhaps this is someone who has a really charismatic personality. So this person it seems like be able to give you some solution over a conflict problem that you face with your friends. This is also some opinion leader. And then online social network. This is an online social community such as blog, online social media, brand communities, social forum, or online forum where people socialize and exchange information and opinion. As you know that we are now in a social media era where people sharing and posting pictures, posting videos, interesting videos, TikTok, for example, and they will give you some influence to buy something through that online. The brand ambassador, it is also one of the part of the reference group that is an aspirational group. Yeah, because like Agnes Morica, you can saw her being used for different brand as the brand ambassadors, and then Cristiano Ronaldo being used as the brand ambassador of the KFC. And so those who are fans of Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, or Agnes Monica will try to also consume similar product as their admire persons consume. Social network, just I have mentioned, a lot of people post movies, post food, yeah, on their social media. They try to influence one to another to buy similar product. And then we also have some influencers such as Raditya Dika, yeah, being used to create some content. Can be some promotional one, can be for their own creation, for their own purpose. So they being used also to. And then family. The other buyer's characteristic, including in social factor, is a family. Family members can strongly influence the buyer behavior. The family is the most important consumer buying organization in society, and it has been researched extensively. Market Marketers are interested in the roles and influence of the husband, wife, and children on the purchase of different products and services. Husband-wife involvement varies widely by product category and by stage in the buying process. Buying roles change in involving customer lifestyle. So if you were having some niece or nephew in age around a baby or maybe toddler, young until like 12-year-olds, most of the time family will influence them a lot on how they will like buying a clothes, or maybe what kind of food they have to consume. So during that age, family influence a lot. And there are some relationship in the family, such as a husband and wife. They sometimes dividing roles and responsibility. Like wife is more focused on deciding the food, fashion, while the man deciding on what kind of transportation that they will buy and other electronic products. So that kind of relationship is really interesting on the market, and how they will share experience, how they share influence is really interesting too. And role and status is a person belong to many groups, whether they belong to one family groups or maybe clubs and organization and online communities. The person position in each can be defined in terms of both roles and status. A role consists of activities people are expected to perform according to the people around them. Each role carries a status reflecting the general esteem given to it by society. So it means that when you are now as a student, you also roles as a brother or sister in your family. You also roles in a student organization to become the chief or maybe a members or maybe communities for one event or one seminar. So different roles will bring you into a different level of self-esteem. So that kind of roles also will influence you to become someone who will also influence your behavior as customer and influence the way you can. And the next one is the personal factors. We'll talk about the age, lifestyle stage, occupation, economic situation, lifestyle, personally, and self. For the age and life cycle stage, I will rely on the RBC Royal Bank, who's divided five life stage segments. The first one is youth, who the age is under 18. Getting started, 18 to 35, builders, 35 to 50, accumulators, 50 to 60, preserver, over 60. Each of the stage has different behavior and different consumption behavior. Just for example, when I'm still single, I often go to a cafe, yeah, and to drink some coffee or chocolate with my friends and spend the entertainment by going to the theater, see the newest movie ever, and then go around something, buy something for myself. But when I have a family, I have a children, I will choose a restaurant which has a wider space for my children to go around here and there. And then if possible, they also own some playground, so the children will be able to socialize with the other children. So this is giving you some example how different life segment will have a different way of consumption. The accumulators will think about how they will invest for their pension time. Preserver will talking a lot about the medical product or healthier product to maintain their health. These lifestyles called as the false framework. And in this false framework, giving you some picture of how the lifestyle is, comparing between their primary motivation and their resources and high innovation. In the false framework, for this part is based on the United States value. Yeah. In order to determine what kind of lifestyle that you have here, they will use a primary motivation, three types of primary motivation. The first one is ideals, achievement, and self-expression. And then the other one is according to your resource, and they divide it into high resource and low resource. Resource means that how much money that you have, whether you have a financial fund to helping you out on running your lifestyle. And if your primary motivation ideas is for someone who guided by knowledge and principle, someone who's really interested on knowledge, they love reading, they really love to get more information. And achievement is someone who all try to find achievement in their life, look for a product to demonstrate their success compared to the other peers. And self expression is someone who desire social or physical activity. They love to have non-routine activity. They love variation on their activity, and they love risks. So On the part of primary motivation will be divided into two types of different lifestyle based on their own category. The high resource one is someone who is on the top one, and low resource is called as believers, thriver makers, and survivors. So different different countries, people have different values and they will have different false framework. Personality and self-concept. Here I'm talking about the brand personality. Personality itself is a unique psychological characteristic that lead to relative consistent lasting response to one's own environment. And in order to implement personality into a brand, we recognize brand personality. They divide into different personality: insincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and rudeness. This is according to Aker research. And each of the brand personality will try to details their personality that reflect. And then the next one is psychological factors. Yeah, talking about motivation, perception, learning, beliefs, and attitude. So every person they usually have some motivation that drive them to do something or to achieve something. Perception is talking about how you have your own sight to see a things different way on seeing things. For example, like there's a one picture, the one person will see that picture is an old lady, while the other students perhaps will see this is a young lady from one picture. So we can see something in a different way. Yeah, that's in perception. And then learning will talk a lot about the experience that you have experienced from previous situation. Just for example, you have a bad experience when you come to one restaurant and you will never go there again because based on your learning, you have a bad service, so you will not go there. Beliefs and attitudes, we can talk further on the consumer behavior. Okay, motivation here, we will use Maslow hierarchy of motivation, divided into five different motivation and three categories of needs. Yeah, for the basic needs, it's like physiological needs includes water, warmth, rest, and then safety needs include security and safety. For a baby, a newborn baby, they need food and then water and then security, the feeling of feel safety, like I've been protected, someone help me out, taking care of me. So baby usually is a basic needs. But when you're growing up as a person, like a youth or maybe teenager, there are more needs that relates with the physiological needs, the intimate relationship, friendship, and then esteem and needs you the feeling of accomplishment. You have accomplished your study, you have accomplished, you get a good grade or prestige. And then the top one is self actualization, when you try to achieve your full potential, including the creative activities. Just for example, you are president of Indonesia, but you also want to try to record your voice for a music record. So that is self-actualization that happened with our former president SBY. Perception, this is a process on which people select, organize, and interpret information to form a meaningful picture of the world. From this picture, this person say that this is 9, while this person say it's 6. It depends on how they see this on the different position. So it just try to telling us that people have different perception of learning, always based on the experience. You can learn something, you don't have to experience your first, but you can also learn from someone's story. But most of the time learning it came from the experience. Belief and attitude. Belief is descriptive thought that a people hold about something, while attitude is a person consistently favorable or unfavorable evaluation, feeling, and tendency toward an object of idea. So attitude actually talking about you like or dislike a product or a promotional message. Like you can say that I love that promotional message and I will have a positive attitude toward that product too. So therefore, the promotional message will influence a lot on someone's attitude toward a product. And then the next one, we try to distinguish several types of buying decision behavior will be explained. Here we differentiate four types of buying behavior. The first one is called complex buying behavior. When you see that the product has a really significant difference with the high involvement, means that the product is really expensive. Therefore, when you would like to decide to buy this product, you take time, you think, and then you will try to consider how much money you have. It is a complex buying behavior. While the variety-seeking buying behavior, when you see a difference, significant difference between the brands, but the product is uh, quite cheap, so you don't have to consider a longer time to decide whether you would like to buy the product, then you usually buying the product, try this product, and you try to different product the other day. It means you can choose different variety of product every day because it's low price. Dissonance reducing buying behavior is a type of product that has a few difference. So the characteristic between one product to the other is not that obvious and quite expensive. So sometimes people will confuse. And habitual buying behavior is type of product like a sugar, salt that you don't know what is the difference, and the price is quite cheap. So you just buy it often. Doesn't matter the and this is the one that is really important for decision process on buying. Uh, when you would like to start to buy the product, you have to recognize that you need something. You're aware that there's some problem that you need to overcome. Then after that, you continue with information search and evaluation for alternatives and purchase. And the last one is post-purchase evaluation. Just for example, you would like to buy a laptop because this is a new semester. Your old laptop has been broken. Therefore, you recognize that you have something that you need, and because you need to start studying for this semester, of course, you need laptops. And then the next one, you try to search for information from an internet, asking the people who experience go to several stores to ask for more information about several brands of laptops provided. That is information search. And then after you get more information, you try to evaluate each of the offering, yeah, the alternatives. For example, there are several brands of laptops: HP, Asus, Acer, Mac, maybe another one Samsung or Toshiba or something. You try to compare based on their specification, price, guarantee or warranty. That is evaluation of alternatives, and you try to consider your own financial condition. Then finally you end up on buying Asus. Yeah, you did purchase, and then after you use Asus, you try to reconsider whether you satisfy or dissatisfy with Asus performance. So this is the last part that we need to learn more is about stage of adoption process. So when you are as a customer, you see a new product, we have different adoption process. Adoption process whether you would like to adopt that product in the future or you would like to stop to consume. The first stage is awareness. When you aware there are some product on the market, new product on the market, you finally enter an interest when you would like to find more information about the product. Let's say the new product is talking about what we call as the new technology apply on the earphone, yeah, because you need mic and also you need to hear something clearer through the earphone. And then there are some advertising around, and then you see the brand name and you try to seek more information. And then after that you try to evaluate whether I have money to buy that product, whether that product is possible for me, is rational for me to buy that product. And after that you try one time to buy that product, and after you try you will determine whether you're going to adopt the similar product in the future when you need more earphones, or you will just stop to adopt that product and just discard that product away. I think this is the end of the explanation for chapter 5. If you have some question, please do not hesitate to send your name, student number, and your question on the Microsoft